America cannot build any shit anymore. We've lost the capacity. We don't have the steel mills. We don't have the coal plants. We don't have any of that stuff. Good luck with that. Please do that, Mr. Trump. But I doubt it can be done. And I doubt it can be done by him, unfortunately. If anyone can do it, he can do it. But I don't think anyone can do it. The SS United States. A very proud ship. Probably the proudest ocean liner ever built. An icon. A monument to American prowess, industrial prowess, ingenuity, engineering. It was once the fastest and most advanced ocean liner in the world. The SS United States. It symbolized everything that the world in its day, we're talking somewhere in the late 40s, all the way into the 50s, and even into the late 60s. It was still in service. It was an amazing ship. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes as a child. My father, when he used to go to Europe, occasionally in the 50s and even in the early 60s, would use that ship. He was getting on that ship, and instead of taking a plane, he would be in Europe in 3.5 days. Amazing. Today, a rusting, motionless relic. Today, a shadow of its former self, a rust bucket, a motionless relic needing tugboats to move. To me, this is a metaphor for America. For better or worse. And unfortunately, when you know what's happening to the ship, as we speak at the time of this recording, it's a disgrace, it's a shame, it's an embarrassment. It is a crying shame. And unfortunately, very sorry to say as a proud American patriot, it is a metaphor for America's decline. I personally would put the golden age of America into the 50s, the 60s. That was when that's when I grew up in the 60s. I was born in the very late 50s, grew up in the 60s and 70s. And I remember when America had its golden age. At least to me, it was a golden age. To my parents, it was a golden age. When you drove up to your gas station in your car, in your big, 10,000 pound, 50-foot long cars. Well, not really, but that's what they felt like. There were boats, there were ships. When you drove up in the gas station, there would be, attendants coming out. They said, fill her up. That's where that comes from, by the way. Fill her up? Yes, fill her up. Fill her up back then was about $7. And we're talking about cars with 20, 25 gallon tanks, okay? And that kind of fuel consumption. If you got 7, 8 miles to the gallon, you'd be happy, okay? But the oil was cheap. I remember a quarter for a gallon of gas. And that gas didn't have like 87 or 89 octane. It had 100, 101, in some cases even 100, up to 113 octane. You could have high compression engines. You could have Corvettes and Mustangs running, with 400 or 500 horsepower. This was all before the years of the malaise, the 70s, the oil shock, when cars became small, had catalytic converters and all kinds of crap that reduced performance and didn't really help the environment at all. But I digress. The golden age of America, the 50s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, not so much the late 60s. They were when America, we were somebody. We had people like Eisenhower as presidents or John F. Kennedy. This is just, before the Vietnam War. And America was happy. We were proud. The world admired us. Everybody wanted to be like us. Correction, everybody wanted to be us. America, the proud. And one of the symbols of its day was the SS United States. A symbol of America in her prime, in her peak. This ship was built in the 40s and it was launched in 1952. And at the time it broke all kinds of speed records. What most people don't understand, it was at its surface a luxury liner. It was everything the Titanic wasn't, and it never sank until, we get to that. That boat probably, some say secretly, built as a troop transporter, very much like the Liberty ships during World War II. Yes, all these ships at the time could be quickly converted to troop transporters and they'd carry, 3 times as many soldiers. This ship, along with a few other icons, it was as iconic as the Statue of Liberty. And it symbolized American dominance, craftsmanship, ambition. It was one of those things where you look at it, how America was built, like the TV show. Well, that was a little later, but it was even more impressive. This is how America was built. And if you saw that ship, I remember seeing that ship on the horizon line. And I could see it, and then I would take up binoculars, and my grandma and I would look at this. This is the United States. And I was like, is my dad on board? No, actually, he's right here. But okay, he could have been on board. He was on board, often enough. I said, why would anyone go on a journey for 3.5 days when you can just get on a plane and make it in 8 hours? Well, if you know what the late 50s and the early 60s were, I remember going from Europe to America and vice versa. Those were prop planes, and they had to refuel twice in Ireland and in Gander, Newfoundland. So it was like a two-stop, intermediate stop flight between America and London, Frankfurt, Paris, whatever. So why would anyone go on that ship? Well, it was an adventure. If you can do it in 3.5 days, you can be on the open and the high seas and you can see something of the world. And then that ship would, float into New York Harbor. And, you'd wake up. My dad used to tell me, he'd wake up in New York Harbor and you'd see like the skyline of New York coming, now the ship would go, and then it would like dock and, great fanfare and, a brass band would play and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was traveling in style. It wasn't totally unaffordable. My dad wasn't all that rich, but he enjoyed that. He said, yeah, I can fly. I can fly and make it to America in a day or to Europe in a day. But why do it if I can have the ocean? And he was very nautical, just like I am. We love the ocean. We love the ships and all that stuff. We have lots of sailors and a pirate in our ancestry. But America was the world's superpower, the world's only superpower. Yes, there was the Soviet Union. It was powerful, it was strong, but it was also communist. It wasn't very pretty. America, on the other hand, was elegant, unstoppable, strong, prosperous, sleek, glamorous, star quality, and for the whole world to see. But alas, this ship has seen better days. It was retired, I believe, in the late 60s, I think in 69. And after that, it was just like and after that, that once glorious ship was treated like dirt. It was like treated like a redheaded stepchild. By that time, 1964, there was another great element, another great symbol of American dominance and power and ingenuity. It was called the Pan Am Clipper, or at least a Boeing Clipper. It was a 707. We used to call it the Flying Mule. It had 2 rows of 3. It wasn't quite a jumbo jet yet. There was a rotunda where the stewardess, as it was called, with a little pillbox hat would, give you a light. If you were traveling first class, and I once did as a child, they'd give you actual silverware with very sharp steak knives and a Chateaubriand or filet mignon, whatever you wanted. It was elegant, it was style, it was glamorous. But unfortunately, the 60s and then later was the beginning of neglect. It was retired in 69. Jet travel replaced ocean liners. And finally, in 1969, it became too expensive to operate. And then it was just left to rot and eventually stripped for parts, stripped of its interiors, of other parts. It just fell into disrepair. And then certain people looked at it as a project, as a fixer-upper. Hey, I buy this ship for, I don't know, $1 or maybe $1 million, but nothing even closer resembling its actual value. But it wasn't worth that much because it had passed from owner to owner like a car that we see like 15 owners, all in auctions. Everybody had grand plans, but those plans failed. Just like America, this is a complete parallel to America. We stopped producing stuff. We no longer make shit. Oh, it's cheaper. We just farm it out to China, right? This is what Trump, by the way, is trying to reverse. Good luck with that. And I mean that not just facetiously. Good luck with that. Please do that, Mr. Trump. But I doubt it can be done, and I doubt it can be done by him, unfortunately. If anyone can do it, he can do it, but I don't think anyone can do it. It's just past the point of no return. Just like this once very proud ship. Just like the once proud nation of America, whom I believe in. It's my country. I'm an American citizen. I love my fucking country, okay? But I can't really just find a whole lot of things going right. We'll see. Jury's still out. Trump's been president at the time of this recording for about 5 weeks. And he's probably done more in those 5 weeks than most administrations do in 8 years, for better or worse. And I agree with a lot of stuff he's doing, particularly the Doge thing, making America efficient again, repatriating American industries from China, just bringing it all back. But you cannot be an industrial power. And how do I know that we're no longer really industrial power? Well, look at what China is producing. At 1, maybe 2 orders of magnitude. They have the biggest steel, they have the biggest, shipyards. They can make more ships in a month than we can make in a decade. I'm not even being hyperbolic here. I'm not even being facetious. It's dead true. America cannot build any shit anymore. We've lost the capacity. We don't have the steel mills. We don't have the coal plants. We don't have any of that stuff. We don't even have the people that know. Sometimes they have to pull people out of retirement just to get some stuff done. 75-year-old people that still remember a certain smeltering process or whatever the hell it is, they get those out of retirement and show those young whippersnappers, the millennials, the zoomers, or whatever, how to make shit. Whatever happened to America? We were an industrial powerhouse. And this is the symbol. one of the symbols. Just like the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building or a big ass Cadillac with fins. That's, 8,000 pounds or whatever it is. So like a bad penny or like a bad car, it went from owner to owner, and every time it just ended up being more rusty and more, and every time it just ended up being more rusty and more degenerate and more decrepit, and everybody, in a way, I'm glad my dad can't see what's happening as we speak. It's breaking my heart. I'm actually getting emotional about this. This is America. This is the symbol of America. Jesus Christ. Can we just let this kind of shit happen? Watch? Oh, well, it's just a boat. It's an old-fashioned. We have more tech now. We have iPhones. Fuck you. You don't need a goddamn iPhone. If I had a choice, I hate flying so much in this day and age. It's such a, from TSA and all the harassment and all the bullshit. And, standing there and the scanner goes, it's like a dystopian movie, especially since 2001, since the Patriot Act, which, by the way, the Patriot Act, in case you don't know, if you've never read the damn thing, it's hundreds of pages long. If you read the Patriot Act that was implemented after 9/11, the ultimate false flag, in my humble opinion, but if you read that thing, it reads almost verbatim when 1933, when Hitler came to power. Yes, originally he was democratically elected, but then again, so was Zelensky. Just saying, from Nazi to Nazi kind of thing. So when you read, there was a traumatic terrorist event that was blamed on the communists. No, maybe it was the communists, I don't know. Although, things that make you go, The Reichstag, which is the big parliament. It's like our Capitol in a way. It looks even similar with a big rotunda. That thing was set ablaze by some communist anarchist, whatever. And on the next day, new legislation was introduced. It was called the Reichs Empowerment Act of 1933. And if you read that document, it reads almost verbatim like the Patriot Act. Oh, and Homeland Security? That sounds an awful lot like Heimatland Schutzsicherheitsfucking-Dienst, okay? Sounds like, let me see, quacks like a Nazi, smells like a Nazi, walks like a Nazi. Jesus Christ, it might just be a fucking Nazi piece of legislation. So, anyway, hopefully we'll see the end of all these agencies, or at least that kind of draconian fascist, legislation. And the Patriot Act is nothing but an act to oppress freedom and free speech in America. And we're seeing that every day now. Back to the ship. The final humiliation, 1990s to present, rusting relic, just like America, just like the Rust Belt. Why do you even call it the Rust Belt? Because once it was actually the heart of the steel industry, and now it's just all rusting away. And then companies used to go bankrupt, like I remember International Harvester, it used to be called. We still have international trucks and stuff, but it's a shadow of its former stuff. We don't have the steel mills. And if you don't believe me, then look at what the Russians, you say, oh, it's just a Russian, Putin's a dictator, he's a thug. Go fuck yourself. Putin is probably the last statesman in the world, him and Lavrov. And at least these people are very consistent. And no, they didn't just invade the Nazi Ukraine on a whim. It was a provoked war. It was a special military operation, but it aggressed. We have no more industrial surge capacity. As a matter of fact, we have no more industrial capacity. Now, you may have heard otherwise. If you listen to CNN or the British media or any of these lying, fake news media, corporate media, that are all lying. I mean, how do you know the mainstream media are lying? You know they're lying because their lips are moving. Assume the exact diametrical opposite of everything you hear from the lying mainstream media. The lamestream media, as I call them, the corporate media, owned by 5 companies at this point. It used to be 6, now it's only 5. Whether it's Fox, Murdoch, Empire, or whatever it is, they're all controlled media. They get their talking points from, well, some say from the intelligence community. Washington Post is nothing but a mouthpiece for CIA. The New York Slimes, the toilet paper of record, is nothing but a lined rag. If you've ever been to, a newsroom, if you've ever really understood what the structure is between the lying mainstream media, take it from me, because I've worked for the American government in some weird capacity for about 12 years. I saw a few things, and I know a lot of people from that world. And one thing we all know is, some call it the Mockingbird media, Operation Mockingbird. Every newspaper, every newsroom, every TV station, every radio station that's big, syndicated radio, have a couple of, let's call them minders, like the old Soviet Union had minders from the Communist Party. Well, in our case, they work for the intelligence community. It's spelled CIA. Never mind. Oh, it's a tinfoil hat conspiracy. Go fuck yourself. Then you're just an idiot that doesn't know what's going on, okay? I'm telling you right now, whatever is being put out by the mainstream media is a fucking lie from A to Z. Assume the exact opposite, 180 degrees, you're probably a lot closer to the truth than listen to those scumbags. Let's go say the Titanic. That'd be another metaphor for America. The unsinkable ship. But this ship, this poor ship, was towed from port to port, had no real home, and it needs 4 tugboats just to move. It's, 800 feet long or whatever. I forget the exact measurements, but it's pretty damn long. It's pretty damn sleek. And it can't, at this point, run under its own power. People tried to buy it. You had a lot of investors, several failed restoration attempts, bureaucracy, red tape, incompetence, just like modern America. Debt, broken cities, reliance on foreign economies. And that thing I was saying about surge capacity. Oh, the Russians, they're using shovels, human wave tactics. They have to take German dishwashers and take the chips so you can put them in their fighter jets. And to believe that, I can make you a really good deal on the Brooklyn Bridge. Just at the bottom of this video, send me a message, wire me, I'll make it real cheap for you. $10 million. And you get the Brooklyn Bridge from me. I'll even wrap it up, gift wrap, with a nice little bow for you. How's that? If you believe any of that other shit that the media tell you, then you'll probably be really happy about the Brooklyn Bridge. Wouldn't that be looking great in your backyard? Brooklyn Bridge. Imagine, is that the real? Some girlfriend coming up to you, say, is that the real? It's the real Brooklyn Bridge. I bought it from Orlando. I bought it real cheap, $10 million, and it was mine. And he even sent it gift wrapped. Just saying. So. And we still live in the world of the 40s where we think we're this indispensable nation, the shining city on the hill that can just surge 10 or 100 times, Rosie the Riveter, you've seen that. Rosie the Riveter. Yes, we can. Oh, we can do whatever the hell it was, And they built these ships. They built like hundreds of Liberty ships in England, blah, blah, blah. Had convoys. Those days are gone, in case you didn't notice. This is part of the Rust Belt. All these companies that built this shit, they're no longer there. They're gone, along with a lot of other stuff. They're gone, and then I ain't coming back. So we tried to surge. We said, we need 25 times the number of 155 millimeter shells, let's say. And we realized, we can only make so many of them. And then Zelensky, the little green goblin, he comes, that's the Nazi crane kind of guy. He comes to Washington and says, give me money. I need to buy more home in Miami or in Monte Carlo. Give me money. I need to fight Russia and fucking blah, blah, blah. Again, if you believe any of that shit. But wait, Trump just said, we send those guys, what now? $350 billion, $500 billion. Now Europe wants to send them $700 billion. Now if they would have put even $1 billion into the ship, or into American industry for that matter, and any kind of, thing we see now under Doge, God, those pennies would stretch a lot farther. You would actually get some money for our defense budget. We could easily cut it in half and still probably have twice as much of a military and military hardware if we got rid of all the corruption. But again, I keep digressing. It's like I'm just digressing from digressing. It's, it's called ADD. I'm sorry. Bear with me. There's a point to this all. The metaphor, how the SS United States reflects America's fall. It is an abandonment. We let things go. We let it go to seed. Just like when you don't take the weeds out of your garden, you don't fertilize it. You had you could own the Garden of Eden if you don't fertilize it, if you don't, pull your weeds, if you don't do any of that stuff. Well, it's going to look like shit in a matter of years. And what do you think happens to a neglected nation, just like a ship that you neglect for decades, perhaps even for a century? It's an abandonment of strength. Once powerful, now discarded, now decrepit, now gone. We owe all this to, a succession of presidents who believed in globalism, selling us out to China, industry went to China to save on, you didn't have to pay those people, you got everything for cheap. Well, you get what you paid for. And that's not really good. And we are outsourcing ourselves into irrelevance. We're relying on foreign help. Just like this once proud ship that was the fastest friggin' ship ever. Not ever, but the fastest, ocean ship liner. Now needs tugboats. Just like that, America needs endless intervention. And there was a series of failed revivals. Every attempt to restore that ship and the country seems to end in failure, invariably. And even Trump's first presidency, it didn't seem to really move the needle much. Now, whether you like Trump or you hate him, to me it was like the hold your nose kind of vote this time. I voted for him with great enthusiasm in 2016 and 2020, and I was still very much pro-Trump, and I'm still essentially pro-Trump, but it wasn't quite the same enthusiasm this time around. And I have quite a few issues with his personality, with his bluster, with that, I could have ended this war in 24 hours. Well, how's that coming, Mr. Trump? But just saying. And we still live in the illusion that we're technically so superior to Russia. Well, Russia can surge its military industrial capacity by 1 to 2 orders of magnitude, and it just did. Oh, it's just a war. No, Russia is not a war. Well, the ruble is doing. Well, go fuck yourself. You don't know anything about economics. If you keep repeating that stupid lie, the Russian tech is inferior. They can't hold a candle to F-16s. Really? Those F-16s are almost as old as United States. The F-16s is 50s technology. It was fully developed in the 60s and it started being commissioned in the late 70s. Okay? That's your F-16. It's a 50, 60-year-old plane. It's almost as old as I am. And it's really not that advanced. And if you think the Russians don't have shit that's orders of magnitude better than that, just look at the F-35. It's a hangar queen. It is 28.5% of the time it can actually be, it's ready for service. That means for almost 70% of the time, it's grounded. Just like our aircraft carriers. We have a dozen aircraft carriers, roughly. But at any given time, there's maybe 4 of them are really operational. The rest is sitting either in Norfolk, Virginia, or some other shipyard being fixed. And it takes 12 tugboats to get those out of port. Just saying. The lessons from the SS United States. That ship didn't sink like so many other ships. It was neglected, just like our country is neglected. In America, as a nation, this one proud nation, I'm still an American patriot. I love America, and I want to live anywhere else. I really don't. I may have to, but if I keep talking like this, they're probably gonna, give me so much shit, I may have to flee the country. I don't know. But the point is, America is suffering the same fate, and it breaks my heart, and it should break yours. It should make you angry that we're letting this stuff go to seed, just like our nation. We have open borders. Am I pro-immigration? Of course, America is a country of immigrants. It's fine. We need them. We also need, cheap labor. Let's call it slave labor, whatever you call it. I'm not for kicking every immigrant out, and not even every illegal immigrant. If they behave well, if they're actually, joining the labor force, they believe in America, they love America, I don't even want to kick them out. I know some people. I didn't turn them in. I will never turn them in. They're serving my bagel in the morning, okay? But I am against open borders, and I'm against letting 20 million people in there that are unvetted. That could be anything. They could be Chinese spies. They could be Middle Eastern terrorists. They could be drug cartels. They could be child traffickers. They could just be common rapists and murderers. I'm against that. I'm not against immigration, but I'm against letting everyone into the country. And America is just one of those. We once stood for something. We believed in freedom, democracy, land of the free, home of the brave. Does that sound familiar? Where have I heard that? You're probably saying, where have I heard that before? Land of the brave, home of the free. I don't know. That was once upon a time in America. We once built great shit. We were the envy of the world. Everybody wanted to be not only here, wanted to be like us. Everybody wanted to be us. Now, not so much. There's a global south. Some call it global majority. We used to call it the third world. All these bad countries. The great ship SS United States is right now, as we speak, at the time of this recording, being towed by 4 tugboats from Philadelphia Harbor, from Philly, to somewhere, in the warmer waters around Alabama. And there will be scuttled, meaning sunk, and it'll be the world's largest artificial reef. Oh, that's great for the environment. It's wonderful. No, it's just an excuse they're figuring just to kind of put a euphemistic face on it, a little smiley face on a disaster. The SS United States, the proudest ship of all times, is a warning. It's a metaphor for America. It's a metaphor for all of us, Americans. Will we learn from this, or will we repeat the same mistake? Will we end up at the bottom of the ocean? You be the judge. What will it be? Will you rise up and revive America and say, it's not about Trump. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's not about any of this shit. It's about making America. Yeah, well, I know it sounds like MAGA. Yes, America was once great. And yes, we should all make it great again and not just hope for a messiah. Whether that be Trump or somebody else, I don't care. God helps those who help themselves. And God will only help us if we help ourselves bring this great, once great nation of America back from the brink, from the jaws of disaster. Will you rise up? Will you be part of the new America? That is my question and my challenge to you.